Home prices continue to appreciate, but will it last? Let's talk about that and more in this week's segment of Market Watch. Hi everyone, it's Joshua Barks here, Associate Broker with Keller Williams Realty Boise and the Barks & Co. Real Estate team. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Market Watch, where we talk about the Boise area housing market on a week-over-week basis, but this week we're talking about our monthly deep dive into the market dynamics. So we're going to dive into the market dynamics for June of 2021. So everything that happened in June comparative to what we saw this time last year, and then talk a little bit more about the housing market in general, what our predictions are for the future and how things are looking out there. So I'm really excited to bring all of this valuable information to you. Now, I know this is going to be a very long video and most of you don't want to watch the whole thing. So I did a couple things. One, I did include timestamps to this video, so you can skip right to the sections or section that you care about personally to save you time. Then I also wanted to give you a couple of bullet points just right now, so you can just skip the video and know that you got the information that you needed. So bullet points. First off, Ada County, we've appreciated by 15.9% so far this year, which is incredible. The average sales price in Ada County is $495,000. $495,000. Canyon County, the average sales price has appreciated by 16.2%, and the average sales price in Canyon County is $346,000, so just under $350,000 for existing homes in Canyon County. Then the third point that I want to talk about is interest rates. Interest rates are below 3% still, and in fact, they dropped again this week. Now we have an average of 2.9%. For the 30-year fixed, according to Freddie Mac and their mortgage market research. So that's kind of the bullet points of the long and short. Inventory is on the rise. Demand is staying very consistent. It's very hot out there. So demand is a little bit less than what we have been seeing. So competition is a little bit less out there, but it is still fiercely competitive, still fiercely strong seller's market out there. What we are seeing is fewer offers per listing. So good news for buyers that have been waiting for a reprieve. And as I've been saying for, I think the past year, our housing market right now for buyers is really the market of perseverance. Those that don't give up are the ones that will succeed. Okay, so that's kind of the long and short of the video. Let's dive into my presentation on the specific numbers for each county. Okay, June 2021 market dynamics for both Ada and Canyon County existing home sales. First off, we start with Ada County, and if you've been here before, I like to talk about the market trends chart first because it goes over supply and demand and really gives you a good picture of kind of what's happened on a 13-month rolling graph here. So the red line is going to be the number of active listings, the gray bar is the number of pendings we have, and the black bars are the closed sales in that month. So you can see for June of 2021, we had 739 homes close compared to last June where we had 827 closed. So we are down slightly in the number of closed sales. We are also down in the number of pendings. 834 were pending compared to last year's 1,087 pending. The number of active listings is also down, 479 compared to last year's 484. So last year being kind of a weird year for inventory, hitting just new low after new low after new low, we, at least next month, should start to see this inventory number outpace what we had last year because we are on an increasing trend in inventory, which is fantastic, closer to what I would say is quote-unquote normal for the summer months. So why do we have less closed sales and less pending? Well, a lot of it has to do with inventory. We just don't have the available homes that we did this same time last year. So then, of course, there's going to be fewer sales. And then fewer pending, same kind of reason there with what we have, because homes are getting snatched off the market if they're priced accordingly and in good shape. So what we're seeing here is if we had more homes, these numbers would be bigger, is really what it comes down to. So that's kind of supply and demand. We still have, only 479 homes on the market, though this report did come out on the 5th of July. So I do want to make note that this number likely is a lot higher now than it was then, just because it was the holiday weekend. So if you were with me last week for my mini weekly update with numbers, I said inventory is really tight this week. We were down week over week, and pendings were up a lot, and that had to do with the holiday weekend coming up. So more people just wanted to get done before the holidays, and a lot of people were waiting to list their house until after the 4th of July, which is what I would recommend as well as a real estate professional, because the 4th of July, a lot of people take vacations, and historically the 4th of July weekend, a lot of people are just distracted with the holiday and not focused on home shopping. So what I think this inventory number is going to continue to increase. And if you stick around for next week's video, where I cover the week over week stuff, I'm really excited to see what happens there. So the next chart that I like to look at is the average sold price historical. So what we're looking at for appreciation or depreciation. Now, of course, we haven't seen depreciation for several years now. And so far, we ended 2020 with an average sales price of $427,000 and change. Well, in 2021, so far this year, we are on pace to really outgrow this 18%, 15.9% for the average sold price in Ada County. We've come up that much, and we're still only halfway done through the year. $495,375 is our new average sales price in Ada County. Absolutely bonkers. Now, that's just me coming from a local perspective going, wow, these prices are mind-blowing. But because of the limited inventory we have and the drastic demand that we have for people living here and interest rates remaining really low, we're going to continue to see that price get pushed. Now, I said last month I don't expect, when we were at 11% for the year, I don't expect to end the year with, double the 11%, because that was exactly halfway through the year. And I still don't anticipate this appreciation to, again, double for the rest of the year, because that just, it could. So far, I've been very conservative in my predictions, saying that we would appreciate by 10% by the end of May, and then be finished the year around 15 to 18%. So maybe we finish the year closer to 20%. I've never seen that, but because inventory is so tight, we may actually see that happen this year. So 20% increase year over year, bringing us over that 500,000 threshold for Ada County as more and more people move here. And one thing I want to note is it doesn't show signs of really slowing down significantly enough to really affect prices. Average days on market right now for Ada County is 11. This same time last year, we were in the 20s, which we thought was fast back then. So 11 days, that's under 2 weeks. And when we're looking at where prices are going, and again, the bulk of the sales in Ada County are really, we have over 2,000 in the last 12 months, between 400 and 500,000. The 250 to 300 market has really dried up. So really 3 to 350, 1,300. So this is still the bulk of our sales are going to be in those median ranges there. So the average sold price being the $495. Well, the average pending listing in the multiple listing service right now is marked as $609,974, which is so much higher than the sold price. Now, one thing to note is this pending number doesn't necessarily indicate where the accepted contract is on price. That's not how our MLS works. It just means the ones that are marked pending in MLS had or have an asking price of around this number. Then when you look at the number of active listings, the average asking price in Ada County is $750. So what I like to look at with this, and how does this affect you? What does this mean for prices in the future? Well, I kind of like to look at this as not exactly a crystal ball, but if sellers are asking $750 and the ones that are going pending are averaging $600 and our sold price is $495, we're still seeing a drastic push upward on those prices. Basically, that's just kind of the long and short of it. The months of inventory, so the average absorption rate that we're seeing is still less than a month's supply. So still a very, very strong seller's market. What that means, if you haven't been here for that before, is how long would it take to completely sell out of available homes if no new homes hit the market and we continue to sell at the pace that we've been selling at. So that less than a month. It has come up slightly, which is good. We were at half a month for a while, so we are coming up in that inventory, and I think a lot of that has to do with our upper end price points. Because what we're seeing now is over $1 million, we have more than a couple months supply, which is fantastic. Buyers in that price range have opportunities to really choose what they're looking for. So what the economists say is anything less than 4 months supply is considered a seller's market. Between 4 and 6 months is considered to be a balanced market. And then anything beyond 6 months supply is considered to be a buyer's market. So it's a strong seller's market up until over $2 million in Ada County for existing homes. Now, under 2 million, these 2s and 3s are still considered seller's markets, even though they are softer than what we see in the zero month supply in 250 to 300 in Ada County. And again, 0.1, 0.2, less than half a month up to 400,000. And then still less than a month all the way up to 600,000. So still really competitive out there. Still a great time for sellers. The good news for buyers, let's jump back to the chart overall so you can look at that. The good news for buyers right now is buyer fatigue is real. And I've been talking about that for a couple weeks. What I mean by that is buyers are leaving the market, which is great for those that are sticking it out. And I've been saying for months, not just buyer fatigue, but I've been saying for months that this is the market of perseverance if you're a buyer, because the ones that don't give up are the ones that are going to win. So you might look at this 479 active listings in Ada County and go, oh my gosh, there's nothing on the market. And yes, that is technically true on paper. But one thing to consider is 834 homes were on the market and were taken off the market by buyers that bought them. So 834 buyers are successful even in this market. And so what we're seeing is if you're sticking it out, you could be one of the 834 that goes pending, because we are seeing fewer offers per listing. It's still very competitive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the market is softening so much that we're going to start seeing prices come down. What we are seeing in Ada County is sellers being a little more aggressive with their pricing and thinking that the market is exactly the same as it was last year, where they can be really aggressive. So we are starting to see some price reductions because they're starting too high. And like I've been saying since I started doing these videos, even in a really hot market, if you have an overpriced home, it's likely not going to sell. Yes, you may find that needle in a haystack buyer that absolutely loves your home that has to have it, but that's going to be, 1 in a million that happens. But that does happen occasionally, right? Of course, there's outliers in the data. So when you're looking at what's going on in the market and talking about, I'm just waiting for prices to come down because the market is shifting. Well, one thing to note is the market is shifting every single day. And it's either shifting closer to a seller's market or closer to a buyer's market. And right now, yes, we are shifting closer to a more balanced market to then head to a buyer's market. But we are not going to be a buyer's market, what's considered a buyer's market, for at least a year, if not more, because of our supply and demand. disparity that we have. We would have to see the number of active listings completely soar and the number of pendings and solds just completely deflate, which we don't see happening anytime soon, barring some kind of unforeseen circumstance globally or nationally. Specifically here locally, again, I've said this multiple times, but we need people to stop moving here before prices will really start to soften. So I do think we're going to end up balancing out a little bit. I don't think that this appreciation can continue at this pace, but I do think we're going to continue to appreciate it, at least for the next year or two. So that's kind of the long and short for what's going on in Ada County. And the top 3 areas for Ada County right now for growth so far this year are Garden City coming in at number 1 with an appreciation of 23.9%. Average sales pricing Garden City is now $477 and change. Then coming in at number 2, we have Northwest Meridian, and they're almost 20% as well. So 19.2% year to date with an average sales price in Northwest Meridian of $465 and change. Then we have Northwest Boise, which some refer to as the West North End, at least for a little bit, has also appreciated drastically. So we have 18.1% with an average sales price in Northwest Boise of $514 and change. So that's kind of Ada County. Canyon County is kind of the same. Let's move into that right now before I really dive into it. So here we are, Canyon County existing market dynamics for June of 2021. So everything that took place in June. Again, let's start in the market trends chart. We have the red line being the active listings, the gray bar being the number of pendings, and the black bar being the number of closed. So we have 175 active listings in all of Canyon County compared to the same time last year of 170. So a little bit more than what we saw last year, which is fantastic. We still need way more than what we have currently because we have 386 that are pending. Yes, that is down from last year's 432 at this same time. But again, we have less inventory in these previous months, which are going to lead to fewer pendings because there just aren't enough homes available. Then 361 are sold in the month of June compared to last year's 359. So even though we have less pending, we are staying very consistent on the solds. So again, supply and demand there over the year, we're seeing things start to get at least closer to what we consider normal. Demand is still absolutely crazy. Inventory is still ridiculously low. And we need more homes for sale. So then when we're talking about the average sold price in Canyon County, we're almost to $350,000. So we're at 16.2% increase so far this year in Canyon County. Canyon County has actually been seeing larger increases than Ada County, both last year and this year. And a lot of that has to do with people that wanted to buy in Ada County, in some cases, can no longer afford it in that lower end price range. And so what they're doing is they're moving out west, out to Canyon County, which is fantastic. Canyon County is a great opportunity out there. And so that's pushing our price point up out there because the people that would be living in Ada County are now living in Canyon County. Or maybe they can afford to live in Ada County, but the home would be smaller. So they're choosing Canyon County because they realize how much further their dollar goes. When you have an average sales price of $346, compared to an average sales price in Ada County of almost $500,000, that's a pretty big delta. So you can get way more home, and most of the time it's a newer home because construction in Canyon County has been starting to develop since the early 2000s. So you're getting a much newer home than what you potentially would be getting in Ada County, which a lot of people really idolize as well. So then when we're looking at the overall, again, 11 days on market compared to last month's 12 days on market. So same thing there, following Ada County very closely. When we're looking at what it was this same time last year, again, we were in the 20s. So this is significantly lower on the average days on market. Inventory absorption rate is still almost a little bit above half a month, but 0.6 months supply, which means if no new homes came on the market in Canyon County and we continue to sell them at our current pace, we would be completely sold out of homes in just over half a month. Luckily, inventory, like I said, is coming up, which is great. We need it very badly. And when you're looking at the absorption rate, what they're talking about here, economists say that anything less than 4 months supply is considered a seller's market. Between 4 and 6 is considered a balanced market, and then beyond 6 is considered a buyer's market. So you can see it's still a strong seller's market all the way pretty much up to 800,000. Then we get a little more balance because it's slightly over 4 month supply. And then, of course, over 1 million. Now we have a couple years supply just about, which is fantastic. So buyers in that price range in Canyon County can go a lot further. They have a lot more choices. I mean, it's 2 choices for 1.5 to 2 million, but 11 choices from 1 to 1.5. So more choices mean that buyers can take their time, and those are selling at a slower pace, which makes sense because, again, those price ranges, you still have choices in Ada County as well. Again, when you're looking at these, the average prices, so average sold price, like I said, just below 350. Well, the average pending home in MLS is marked at 415,744. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the price people are getting on the pendings. It just means the homes that were asking a price close to 450 or on average of 415 are now marked pending. Now, sometimes they're marked pending and the prices has changed to match the contract in MLS, which doesn't happen very often, but it is sometimes the case. So I just want to say a caveat with this 415 doesn't mean that necessarily the average contract right now in Canyon County is 415, but it's probably pretty close to that. So then when we're looking at the active, this is what sellers are hoping for, this is what they're getting, and then this is what they end up with. So 546 compared to 415, average asking price is 546, average pending 415, average sold 350. So we're still going to see prices continue to appreciate at a pretty steady pace because that's quite the big delta between 550 and 350, $200,000 between what sellers are asking compared to what they've gotten in the last 12 months. And then we're very, very close to the middle on what they're getting with the 415. So if these actually close at 415, then that average sold price is still going to continue to come up. So then when we're looking at the top 3 areas in Canyon County, we have one area that is 70%. Yes, 70% year to date. So the average sales price is now in Melba, $441,140. Greenleaf is behind them with half, 36.3 year to date with a 367,000 and change sales price, and then in Wilder 24.1% year to date with a 300,000 and change average sales price. So similar to what I was saying in Ada County, what we're seeing is the price appreciation in Canyon County has a lot more room to grow than Ada County, specifically because locals that would buy in Ada County are choosing to buy in Canyon County, or maybe they can't afford to live in Ada County, so they're moving to Canyon County for those prices. So we're going to see demand in Canyon County to continue to increase. While demand in Ada County is still very, very strong, we are seeing fewer offers per home, which is fantastic for buyers that are sticking it out. And what we're seeing is, yes, there are some price reductions because people are being, even in Canyon County, being a little too aggressive on the pricing that they're choosing, thinking that, oh, anything will sell in this market, which I've been saying for over a year. Even in the hottest markets, not everything will sell, especially if it's overpriced ridiculously, because people will just write it off. They won't even come in and say, man, this one seems to be 200,000 overvalued, so I'm just going to offer 200,000 less. Nope, they're probably just going to cross it off because they think that seller's being unrealistic and will be unreasonable to work with on the buyer side. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible that they just come in with a lower offer, because I've written those before, but most of the time it's an exercise in futility because the sellers won't even look at it. They're like, how dare you offer me 100,000 less? And it's like, well, you're priced 100,000 high, so that's what my client is willing to offer. And then eventually they end up reducing. Sometimes they sell, because I call those the needle in the haystack buyer, where you have somebody that they just absolutely have to have this home and they don't care what they pay for it. And that does happen. Very rarely, but it does happen. So that's kind of what's going on in Canyon County. And what we're talking about next is going to be interest rates. So interest rates actually went down again, which is fantastic. So still below 3% for the 30-year fixed. Now they're at 2.9, according to Freddie Mac's mortgage market report that they put out every week. So I watch this pretty closely. They basically pull data from the top 80 mortgage brokers in the nation, and then average them out to come up with this number. And this rate depends on a certain credit score and some other requirements as well. So I'm not a lender, so I'm not going to go super into those details. But if you have further questions about interest rates, I'm happy to hook you up with some great local lenders that know way more than I do when it comes to financing, because I know just enough to be dangerous. But what I can say is interest rates remaining below 3% is still going to help the affordability part, because we have money is so ridiculously cheap to borrow right now that it is fantastic. I do know also that the Federal Reserve is still buying billions with a B of mortgage-backed securities daily. So that's to keep these rates really low. One side effect of that is inflation, which we have seen on a national scale, like with the stock market and the consumer price index and things like that. So that's kind of one thing to note, is inflation is rising because rates are staying low, because they're being semi-artificially manipulated to stay low by the Fed. But that's kind of a whole nother thing that I could get into maybe in a later video. If somebody wants it, just let me know. But I don't really want to go into it here because I've already spent a long time talking about the housing market and what's going on there. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Of course, my number here on the screen, 208-914-1095. You can always send an email or comment on this video. Definitely check out my website as well. There's some interesting resources there. You can check out my company's listings and maybe even read some of my past clients' testimonials, because I think that's really fun. And then be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Barks Real Estate Boise is my handle. So I post updates regularly. And that's kind of what we have for a wrap on the market dynamics. Okay, so there you have it. That's what's going on for the market dynamics of June 2021. Now I kind of wanted to dive into the wrap up where I really answer that question about home prices. They've been appreciating really fast for so long. Will it last? And really the answer comes down to supply and demand. We still need drastically more homes on the market, and inventory is coming up. So that is great news for buyers. And interest rates are staying super low, still below 3%, incredibly cheap to borrow money. So for refinancing and for buyers, still a fantastic time to buy. Then when we're talking about demand, what we are seeing is some people are distracted with summer vacations. Some people have given up entirely because the market has been so tough, chewed them up and spit them out. And so what we are seeing is fewer offers per listing. Now, I'm not saying it's not competitive anymore, because it's still definitely competitive. Instead of competing against 10 to 20 people, you're competing against 5 to 10. So you're still competing, but not with nearly as many. And one thing to note is we are seeing a lot of price reductions on the market. Now, why is that? Are prices softening? No, prices aren't softening. We're not there yet. What we are seeing is people are reducing prices because they are pricing too aggressively. Instead of looking at the comps and what is happening in the market, what they're looking at is, okay, this is what things were selling for. We've been appreciating at this pace, so we should start here because, the market is jumping up to that level. And that strategy isn't working out anymore because we are only competing against 5 or 10 people instead of 20 people. maybe a few months ago, especially last year, that may have worked because we were appreciating so fast. And yes, things are still appreciating at quite an incredible pace, more than what I expected to see this year. But inventory is also less than what I expected to see this year. I thought we were going to see the people that were waiting last year for, COVID to be over would eventually list their home this year. And I think some of that is happening, but we are still having a drastic number of people move here, which is completely offsetting that. So prices will continue to appreciate, which is great news for sellers, maybe not great news for buyers, especially if you're not sticking it out like you need to be. But what we are seeing is hopefully prices won't continue to appreciate at this incredible pace, because 15% being halfway through the year. Now, by the end of the year, my prediction, I don't think we're going to see 30% for the average sales price year to date in Ada County or Canyon County. Now, we definitely could, but I do think it's going to be closer to 20% by the end of the year. That's just what I think is going to happen because of where we are in prices. Because again, prices have been appreciating so quickly for so long that yes, things are shifting closer to a more balanced market, but still an incredibly tight seller's market. So when I say the market is shifting, when you see other real estate agents and other professionals in the housing industry talking about the market is shifting, they are saying that the market is shifting, because it is all the time. Day to day, it's shifting either closer to a seller's market or closer to a buyer's market. And right now we're on the closer to a buyer's market because we've been such a strong seller's market for so long that we're slowly starting to shift to really a more balanced market. We are likely not going to see a buyer's market here locally for several years, unfortunately. So hopefully that comes sooner. Hopefully I'm wrong with that, but where interest rates are staying really low and inventory is staying really low and demand is staying really high, and we still have a vast amount of people moving here from higher priced areas because Boise is more affordable, we are going to continue to see prices continue to appreciate. Now, I don't think they're going to appreciate 15, 20% every year, because that can't happen. That's unrealistic. Anyone that says we're going to continue to appreciate at that pace for the foreseeable future is lying to you, because that can't happen. It just doesn't make sense mathematically. And when you go back over what we've seen just in markets in general, the housing market specifically, we've never seen that much growth that quickly. And we've seen that consistently for the past couple of years where we're in the 15s. Now, a more conservative approach is we're going to see houses continue to appreciate, but maybe at a slower pace of 10% a year, 11% a year, 12% a year. Maybe it'll be less than that. So I do think we're going to balance out in the next couple of years. And what I mean by balance out is appreciating at a 5, 10, 11% rate instead of these 15, 16, 18, 20s that we've been seeing for the past couple of years. Okay, so that's kind of me talking about home prices continuing to appreciate. Yes, they will, but at a slower pace because we are seeing some buyers leave the market as inventory comes up. So if you have any questions, I know I covered a lot of information here, and I want to know that these videos are helpful for you, because sometimes I feel like I'm up here just chattering away, and I want to make sure that I'm getting to the information that you're looking for rather than talking about what I think you want. So leave a comment to this video or send me an email or send me a text and let me know what you want me to cover and that you find these helpful. So I just want to make sure that you have the information that you need in order to make an educated decision for you and your family, because everyone's situation is different. Now, the market may be doing one thing, but it still could be a great time to buy. It still could be a great time to sell. It could be a bad time to buy for you. It could be a bad time to sell for you. It just depends on you as an individual, what your situation is, what your goals are, and things like that. So that's why it's so important to enlist a real estate professional like myself that understands the market, that knows what's happening, knows how to navigate it, and can give you the best information in order for you to make a good decision for you and your family. So I'd be happy to be interviewed if you have any questions, or you're considering buying and selling and you just don't know if it's going to be the right fit for you right now, because it might not be, but it might be. You just don't know what you don't know until we meet. So my number is 208-914-1095. Of course, you can always email me and check out my website to see what my past clients have said. And that's really all I have for you. I'm sorry this one's so long. Next week is just going to be our weekly video, so that'll be much shorter, so stay tuned for that. And I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Until next time.